Now, if we're looking at the wines individually here, would you start off with the Chenin or the Chardonnay?
Probably the Chardonnay, I'd say.
Okay, yeah,
That's what I'm drinking actually.
all right. So this is the 2020 Craven Chardonnay. Tell us a little bit about this particular vineyard, because single vineyards are the all important for you.
Yeah, so that is the newest wine to our stable, actually. Okay. We started that in 2019. We used to make a white from a grape called Claret Blanche, which is a great little variety.
Yeah.
But sadly, that little vineyard disappeared for a long-winded story. And we always wanted to make Chardonnay, and it was just kind of a natural progression at that moment. It's like, well, we're not making the Claret anymore. A really good friend of ours is a grower. He's a great grower. Right next door, actually, the farm basically next door to the Claret in this Pulp Dry Hills area. There's a lovely little block of Chardonnay. Once again, grown in this sort of decomposed granite, sandy soil. Some years you get very little grapes, but some years you get a lot. Chardonnay down here is a very fickle grape. But it just kind of, it ticked the boxes what we wanted with the Chardonnay. Like Janine and I love to drink that sort of salty, mineral, racy Chardonnay that, you know, I hate comparing to other parts of the globe, but like more in the, I guess, the Chablis area or even the Jura. I really adore Jura.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Yes, yeah.
So that kind of, yeah, salty, nutty kind of Chardonnay. And we'd tried a bit of Chardonnay from there before from another producer, and it's like, we have to make it from here. So that's kind of where it came from, the decision to take it from there. Yeah. I'm
glad you didn't go down that kind of really reductive route that we're seeing a lot of from South Africa right now.
Yeah, I'm actually quite terrified of reduction.
Really? And why is that, Nick?
I guess I've worked in enough commercial wineries to see when reduction just goes beyond the point of bringing it back. You know, it's I think it's mainly from red wine production.
Yeah,
it freaks me out. White wine, I can handle it. Look, I love it in small doses, but I've just seen it gone from delightful, flinty reduction to Macaptan, stinky reduction. And I think, so it's one of those things where we're a little bit wary of. The only time we ever stir barrels is if there's any hint of reduction.
Right.
So it's not a matter of getting mouthfeel or anything. Yeah, we're quite onto it with that. We try to be. We're not afraid of it, but we're wary of reduction, I guess.
I love the flavors that you're getting from this, even with that lower alcohol, because you got a lot of sunshine there, right? So you're getting some beautiful ripeness without too high sugar levels.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. I mean, we get a lot of sunshine. It's not overly hot. We got great sunshine. I think we do get really good flavors at low alcohol. I mean, I'm just parroting what you just said. So for us, it's more about that acidity, because that's the one thing we generally don't have when those grapes ripen beyond 13 to 14%. You know, you really start losing that acidity, you start losing that backbone.
So for us, it's not really known for high acid whites, right?
No, definitely not. So, you know, the crazy thing about that wine is, and one thing we also have here is a lot of malic acid. So the Chardonnay, we generally pick, some years it's 12 grams per litre of acidity when we pick, but 5 grams of that will be malic acid. So we have to let everything go through malolactic, otherwise it is high acid. So yeah, that's the main thing we're focusing on is acidity, and we just know the flavor will be there, or we hope.
It's a really gorgeous, balanced Chardonnay, and I can see those the correlations between this wine and some of the finer Chardonnay of Jura for sure, definitely. I mean, I know you don't like comparing, but you can't help but do that sometimes.
You kind of have to. At the end of the day, you have to.
If you're trying to,
I mean, we're not intending to do it, but it's easier. I know what you mean. It's easier for people that haven't had it to get a reference point.
Yeah, completely. Now, moving on to the Chenin Blanc. They're very attractive labels, these. I have to say, I'm a bit of a sucker for a nice label. Who does the artwork for all of these?
We've got a good friend. Her name is Mariette Kotzer. She's a Cape Town artist. She's a trained fine artist, but her I guess day-to-day artwork is completely different, much more abstract, and it's amazing stuff. But she, as I said, she's a fine trained artist, and we just had this from day one. I mean, Janine and I don't really have a creative bone or an artistic bone in our body.
Right.
Janine would probably say she does, and she does. I don't. But we've always loved brands that had different labels. But so we wanted to do that, but we also wanted to keep the labels relevant to what we're doing. So obviously being single vineyard wines, it was just a natural progression to tie the label into the bottling, I guess. So they're obviously a depiction of the vineyard they're from. We just take a panoramic photo, and then we discuss it briefly with Mariette, and she's just too good of an artist to not screw it up. So she just goes for it and paints it or liner cuts it or whatever, and just bangs them out.
They really stand out. I mean, as soon as they arrived, it was the labels that hit me. It was nice.
And they're great when they're together. It's like this little happy family. Yeah.
So this is the 2019, and how do I pronounce the name of the vineyard there?
Caribib.
Caribib. Okay.
Yeah.
Chenin Blanc, one of my favorite grapes. Being a sommelier and all. This is a delightful Chenin Blanc. It's got some real character to it. Tell us a little bit about the vineyard site itself, and then we'll get on to the winemaking of this.
Sure. So then, the 19 you've got is a pretty delicious drink, actually. So the farm called Caribib, so it's not the name of the actual vineyard. We would label all our wines by the farm name, but there's some sort of archaic labeling laws in this country that's limiting us from doing that, which we're trying to overcome slowly. So that's why some have a vineyard name and some don't.
I see. Yeah.
Caribib is a farm that's really kind of coming into the fore in South Africa in terms of, not many people in South Africa really talk about the farm, unless it's like an estate wine, obviously that's attached to it. But a lot of these sort of grower farms aren't really discussed that much. But Caribib is certainly one that's getting more and more recognition, just because literally pretty much anything that comes off this farm is ridiculous. It doesn't really matter what grape it is. There's some of the best Syrah, I personally think, in the country coming with this farm.
Oh, right.
I think there's really great Chenin, there's great Cabernet, there's great everything. So it's this little farm, once again in the Polkadra Hills. It's basically in the epicenter of the Polkadra Hills on these beautiful decomposed granite slopes. And then I think it was back in 2015, we were shown this vineyard, or 2014, 2015, I can't even remember. A lot of the Chenin grapes, or the good Chenin grapes, are taken in South Africa, and it's kind of hard to get into. And we didn't really want to just go into another vineyard that everyone else is dealing with.
Yep.
And so a good friend of ours who used to make wine, called Tim Martin, he was taking a little bit from this vineyard, and he said, look, come and try some of these grapes. And it was this vineyard that used to be cropped very highly for like a sweet wine. He used to go to a co-op for a sweet wine. So it wasn't really pruned, for quality table wine. So Tim was like, it'd be great if you could get involved, because then we can, get more of this vineyard to quality, I guess. And so we're like, great, no one else is really in there. This will be a really cool vineyard project to get involved. The farmer's such a legend. So it's like this, I think it's 40 years old now. 40 years old, it was planted in 82. Okay. 40 years next year. It's this funny planting system we have in South Africa, or some farms used to use it. I think it's called the Perrault system. So basically, you can kind of see it on the label. It looks like it was brought up as a trellis. Mm-hmm. So it's brought up onto a single wire, but then over time, instead of vertically training the shoots have actually, they've let the sort of the arms grow radially. So
Yes,
it looks like
yes,
this
yes,
sort
yes.
of faux bush vine in a sense. So it's like in these single rows, and they're grown up off the ground, but the coverage of the leaves is radial. So you do see it quite a bit in South Africa. I'm not sure why they did it. I probably should find out. But so it's this great little vineyard. It's taken a few years to really prune it back to get it to sort of quality wine production. And then also in the vineyard, we've removed herbicides or removed a lot of that kind of stuff. And Josh, the farmer's been great with that, just managing all the weeds and everything. So it's been a great little project watching this wine just get better and better every year, purely because of farming. I mean, we haven't changed the way we've made it. It's been the same every year. Just watching how, the raw product has really changed the wine. Yes, it's a great site and it's just a great farm. So more and more people are talking about it.
It's kind of got everything that I want from a Chenin here. You've got this beautiful aromatics coming off it. And then on the palate, there's a lovely density there that appeals to me a great deal.
Yeah, it's a lovely little vineyard. And I mean, so production-wise, like our whites, is very simple. As I said before, we just whole bunch press it to a tank, and then either that night or the next day, we rack it into. We use large 500-liter barrels, all neutral. There's no new oak, so they're all 10 year plus old. So they ferment in these barrels. We just leave them there, and then they go through malolactic. And then after malolactic, we generally will rack, depending on the year. Sometimes we leave it. Sometimes the Chenin we leave a little bit longer on the lees, on its gross lees. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months later, we might give a little bit of sulfur. And then 2 or 3 months later, we bottle it. That's basically it. It's very simple. I like to call it simple but attentive winemaking. It's hands-off but attentive.
Yeah, I hear you. The finish on this is really quite something. It's an absolute delight. I can tell because I'm going through that bottle quite quickly and I'm only tasting. All right. No, that's wonderful. That's really cool. Really cool wine. So we have a Syrah and a Cabernet here. In which order would you like me to taste these?